go over a couple of points here. Okay. First, I'll use paint to do it because I am doing this live and on the fly, so might as well. Respirators do not help with source transmission of COVID. And do not help prevent source transmission of COVID. So basically what this means is that when you're using a respirator, which is something like this baby, it will not help prevent the spread of COVID, because just because you're breathing through it, when you exhale, everything just comes straight out these valves which are in the side, right? So air comes in through the front, air goes in out through the sides. So if you have COVID and you're still in the asymptomatic stage, which basically means that you are not transmitting the virus, it means that you are transmitting the virus but you're not suffering the effects of the virus. Respirator is not going to help you spread the COVID virus. It will still spread. Now, what you can do, I'll just pull my stream up because I'm pretty sure it dropped out at some stage. There we go. Sorry, this is just how I keep track of like who's on stream and who's not. So if I don't have these up, then yeah, it doesn't really work well. So far so good. We got sound. Okay. Now, another issue is that spending money for these things is actually quite expensive. So if you buy yourself an actual respirator, you're going to be spending about, I don't know, 65 Australian dollars at the moment for one. And this is just like a medium-size single filter respirator. They don't even take double filter cartridges. Now what I mean by this is respirator cartridges. Bunnings. I'll use our friendly website at Bunnings to have a look at this one. So if I go have a look at this Protector P2 combined filters, right, so a P2 filter, which is basically something that's going to stop particulate dust and fumes, which is really what you need, right? These guys are twice the length of an ordinary filter, like the cheapest filter, okay? And they're made to, well, they are P2 filters. So combination filter providing protection against dust, mists, organic gases and vapors, fumes and odors, okay? So these are the minimum cartridge you need to provide protection against inhaling any COVID that's coughed in your face. Though it's not going to really help if it's on your skin, because you're just going to sit there and wash your face anyway and wash the virus right into your fucking mouth. So you're kind of screwed, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's better to take some measure of protection against this sort of stuff than none at all. Am I right? Now, unfortunately, these things aren't exactly that effective, because if you're like me and you put on one of these, if you're wearing sunglasses or like, say, impact resistant glasses, which you need, like I need to wear in my line of work because I drive forklifts, basically it ain't going to help do squat, because you're going to be covering your mouth, and when you exhale, all this air is going to be hitting you in the eyes and fogging up your sunglasses. I'd love to give you an actual demonstration, because it's actually really obvious. But yeah, so these things are virtually useless. Not to mention that, as I've already said, when you're exhaling, vapors are going to be coming out the sides, and you know, even when you breathe in, like, it's not a 100% solution. The only way these things work, a standard typical surgical face mask, is if you use super glue to seal the edges around your entire face, you don't have any facial hair, and like facial, like it's just fucking pointless. Like it's a pointless exercise for 100% protection. But that's just my personal opinion. That is by no means scientifically you know what I'm saying, right? I don't want this flagged as being like some form of like anti-COVID protection video, because it's not. These things can and do help remind people that they should be hygienic and stop like touching their nose and all that sort of shit. And it does help stop the spread of coronavirus. It's just that it's not 100% effective against airborne droplets and all that, unless it's fitted professionally and you don't have any facial hair. It just doesn't work. Okay? So, what do we have here? We have a standard face mask. Now these guys usually only take and I know this because I used to spray chemicals for a living. They only take P2 particulate cartridges, which are the smaller ones. Now these are combined filters. These don't just deal with particulates, they also deal with fumes and vapors. Right? And that's the whole idea. So when you have one of these filters and it's sitting inside the face mask, it's got a really good seal on it. You only have a filter that's sitting in the top of that that's coming up to about here. Right? You cannot actually physically fit the full filter in it that protects against everything. But I happen to have spent a lot of time doing weed spraying where I'm out in 35 °C to 40 °C weather, and it is cumbersome, to say the least, to have to constantly wear a twin filter respirator on top of having to constantly buy new cartridges for the things. It's expensive, right? Because when you're working in 100% humidity environments and you have high temperatures, there's a lot of sweat and all that sort of stuff. They fill up, they get degraded, and they stop working. You're supposed to store them inside an airtight bag and all that sort of stuff. But what I did was I took an ordinary cheapo single filter mask. I cut out let's see if I can find it again. Single filter. Yeah, there it is. I cut out that, and I should actually probably show more of this. So I cut out that little part there, and I trimmed very carefully the plastic around the edge using a very, very sharp knife, and I basically shaved it down until it was perfectly circular, more or less. And it did take a, like, I had to be very careful to make sure. So I had the filters, and I was sitting there with it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I need a little bit more of that, a little bit more off there. Until I got to the point where I was like that, where it had a perfect seal. We're very close to perfect anyway, because it's got that step down on it. And that's the twin in it. So you can put a combination filter onto one of these cheaper units. But that does not solve the issue that you have with the actual unit actually taking your exhalation and pumping it out the sides. Though what you can do is you can pop off these, which are on the side, Obviously, you probably want to disinfect it fairly regularly. Right, so you take them off, and then you take an actual one of these moisture protective face masks, and you cut a square of it bet you this is going to backfire because it didn't cut like perfectly, but and you plop that thing with the coloured side out. Show you colours. That's like the rule with medical respirators. The coloured side is supposed to be out, not in. I've seen so many people wearing these things incorrectly, and it bugs me because I used to spray chemicals for a living, and I could easily smell any pesticide or herbicide or whatever if my face mask wasn't perfectly on. Not to mention you can feel it when you're actually exhaling. And you just clip one in. Fuck, where is it? Oh yeah, sorry, the coloured side in because it's actually taking your exhalations. You don't breathe in through these, you exhale through them. Come on. I'm trying to get it to click in. Oh yeah, that's right. I don't have to do this so often that I forget that there's like a little clip on one side. So you just push it over, and then you should be able to pull it over the rim of the outside. And it's got like a nice little seal. It does work. There we go. And now I have an exhaust port on my respirator that's actually protected with a surgical face mask. And because it's actually in the respirator port, as opposed to on your face and something that you're always touching, it does not, at least I don't think it doesn't, have to be like replaced as often. Which is key because these things they've been increased in price so much. It's like price gouging galore. Now there is a little spine in the center of these. If you're really paranoid, you can cut out. But you probably won't get as good of a seal. Hey Alex, how you going? I'm teaching people how to make a respirator that can handle COVID both inside and out. Come on. Just trying to get this last bit to click in. It's a little bit tricky when you actually get like a surgical face mask and you're trying to click it in because it's got that extra material in it. Come on. Yeah, focus. I got one side. Should be able to get the other. There we go, got it. Yeah, it's not perfect though. Oh, happy birthday! Good to hear. I'd say like another year closer to your death to keep it grimdark, but alright. So single filter respirator that normally only accepts a particulate filter modified to take a full twin combination filter, P2 filter, that can take organic fumes and vapors as well as particulates. So you can happily spray chemicals all day with this thing as long as you're wearing it correctly. And not only that, but the air ports on the side that you normally exhale from, you cannot breathe COVID out through them, even if you actually have COVID. So this respirator doesn't just protect you, it protects other people. And see if I can still be heard with it on. One sec, I'll take off my helmet. Alright, so there's a little bit of air bleed on the right side of my nose, and that means that basically it's not actually fitted properly. It's probably because of all my facial hair and shit, and I haven't worn my mask in a long time. But if I hold that shut like that, I can easily breathe wearing this. It's not uncomfortable. There we go. Good air seal. I can reach down and move around and do all sorts of shit. And I've got full COVID protection. Everyone else is protected from COVID. And it's actually quite funny because it only costs about what, $60-$70? But when you think about how much money you're spending on actual face masks, on like actual surgical masks, these things are going for like $3 a pop at the moment. You can use this for probably a couple of days straight. And yeah, so let's see if YouTube flags this as false COVID information, but I don't know. I've been spraying chemicals for a long time and I think I know how it works. Now I'm protected from COVID, and now everyone else is too. And this is the only way to protect yourself and others from COVID. It's the only way to protect yourself and others from COVID, because these things, although they might help prevent some infections, are fucking useless. I wouldn't not wear one of them around an organic vapor if you fucking paid me. Not something with phosphorus in it. Definitely not something with anthrax in it. Now, I could wear this around anthrax, and I'd be quite happy doing it. Yeah, custom Sly Marbu card. Nice. Anyway, I'm going to end the vid. I will be getting into a little bit of Doom in about 5 minutes. I just wanted to quickly make that video because like it's getting to like a bizarre point, and like I have to wear safety glasses at work because I'm a forklift operator and I don't want like shards of shit hitting me in the face and like wrecking my eyesight. So I actually have to wear safety glasses, and wearing one of these fogs up my sunnies within 5 seconds. Like vapor from that I'm exhaling just goes straight past the nose bridge and straight up into my eyes, and I'd say that that's a straight up fail for any surgical face mask. So why are we being forced to wear the fucking things? Anyway.